Hello. It is July 12th and it is 9:35 p.m. So basically, there are a few things I had to clarify, let everyone know about, let them know what is actually going on and not. Yesterday, I had let everyone know in my video that basically the person in law enforcement who would get the money overseas every single month from the defrauded unemployment and disability fraud, basically he was the one who was going to make another false testimony against me, using girls from my school, saying that I asked them out and that I was like a really big player wannabe, something like that. And that they would just be like, he asked me out. And then the courts would obviously be like, what did you say? And then they would just be like, I said no. I was like, get the heck off my face, you freak. And stuff like that, just to try to embarrass and humiliate me because of what happened. And by the way, I just said heck. I don't use cuss words. Just to try to embarrass and humiliate me, to get revenge for what happened on the night of July 10th, with all these people like that are supposed to be against me, basically running after me. You have Junaid, who is trying to come up in the front and back of my camera on July 10th at around 8 p.m. So then spokesperson Ibrahim, Greedy Framer spokesperson Ibrahim, since they sent me so many blackmail price tags and tried to get me to marry his sister or the spokesperson's mother's daughter, obviously. All for the greed for money before my brain Stefan would get freed, thinking that I don't know that the only reason they're asking me all these things is due to the fact that it's due to the fact that is due to the fact that they have been caught lying too many times, and the lies that they were saying against me at that time were also confessed to the government informant before November 20th. So basically, yeah. They were both caught trying to come up in front and behind my camera, and these two are running after me. There was Miss Deb running after me, but she stopped now, probably because her son-in-law is just like, he doesn't even want to be married to your daughter. Why are you forcing this? Obviously, anyone would. Incredibly weird thing to do. Your daughter's happily married, and you're trying to get her married. Not normal behavior. Definitely, obviously, a scam. And it would have been really humiliating for her son-in-law, I'm sure, who would have been like, obviously, like, what if it would have been humiliating for anyone. Rather, even if she would go and tell him that, listen, I'm just trying to run a scam, I'm just going to try to force him to sign a prenup, and once he does that, we're going to get money out of him once his brain savant gets freed, and artificial intelligence has said it's going to be really worth it, and this and that. Even then, like, obviously anyone would be like, please don't do this, you're humiliating me because I'm already married, and it looks like I'm getting kicked out and your daughter's getting remarried, obviously. So Miss Deb stopped doing that, but for the Greedy Framer is still, she is still sending me ads for her daughter, her abnormal looking weirdo daughter Zara. Now the thing is, for the Greedy Framer ran after me all year 2024. She stalked me using my sister to try to send me a happy birthday wish on July 18, 2024. I ignored her for like a month or so, and then I thought, man, might as well just say thank you. So I did, and then after that, she would send me a message every single occasion, and every single time she would send me a message, law enforcement would put up on TV home screen, it would say in big letters, it would say stunt woman makes first move. Basically, because law enforcement have a sex addiction problem, and they have these girls that that they have running after me. And if those girls think that there's someone else that I'm gonna accept, obviously they would go away. There was a certain instance with a girl. Her name started with the letter A as an apple, and she basically went away because she kept asking me a billion times, and I said no, I already have someone. And so in the end, she just got sick and tired of it, and she just went away. Law enforcement got so angry at this that they would literally harass me and torture me all day night long, and it would say on the commercial on my TV and YouTube would say bring her back. And it was just like, so they would in the year of 2024, whenever for the Greedy Framer would message me, law enforcement would get really pissed off and annoyed by it, and they would put on my TV home screen in big letters. It would say, it would say, "Stunt woman makes first move," and we know exactly why they would get pissed off and angry due to the fact that when this girl whose name starts with the letter A as an apple, in the end got sick and tired of it. She just left. She's like, I don't want to do this anymore. They became so angry at this that they started harassing and torturing me all day and put on my TV's YouTube. It said "bring her back" in like big letters, and like the entire movie trailer was "bring her back," basically for me to bring her back so they could try to scam her, and every one of them would try to run after her for sex. Yeah, so law enforcement did not like the fact that Farrah the Greedy Framer was so she's really aggressive in her stances. Like, she would, if she wants something, she goes for it. She doesn't care how it looks like. The entire year of 2024, when she was messaging me at every occasion, I would only reply by, if she messages me on, let's say, Eid, like Eid Mubarak or something, I would just be like, "Thank you so much." That's it. So if she messages me on my birthday, like, "Call me sometime," I'm not gonna call her. I don't do that. It's just really awkward. Nothing to talk about. I'm not ever gonna call someone like that. Yeah, but the thing is, law enforcement would obviously get pissed off every time she would message me, and it was very obvious that she was only trying to run after me to try to get me with her daughter, due to the monetary potential that she was told about. And law enforcement, obviously, at that time would get really annoyed by her messaging me, and I knew this for a fact because they would put "stunt woman makes first move" on my TV home screen really big, because if someone is already messaging me and I'm replying to their messages, what happens is the other girls go away. Obviously, the girl with the name starts with the letter A went away at that one time, and law enforcement became really angry at that fact. They don't like that. They don't want that. If Farrah the Greedy Framer is saying bad and humiliating things about me, it's not really going to make them go away. That's also been tested. She yells at my school teacher and tries to push her away, claiming that she's a close relative, even though she's not. And then she says really humiliating things about me in the year 2024, hoping that the other girls would go away. The other girls ended up having law enforcement put more of their ads on my YouTube all day long. Like, one person's out and they were just happy about this. Like, yeah, that move definitely does not work. So it's just July 10th. It's like Junaid and Ibrahim are both trying to come up in my car camera, and it was really ironic that Ibrahim is waiting at the mother's girl because he got rejected by someone his mother's age, and he wants to come up in front of my car camera so that he could be like, the law enforcement could be like, "Look at him, such a nice guy. Why don't you just sleep with him?" Like, stuff like that, like really like weird. And yeah, this thing, like, it's been going on for like a while now, and it's just, it's like they did this with Uncle Joey, and with Uncle Joey, like, law enforcement were so sure that I wouldn't go near him. They wanted to run these ads for Uncle Joey, because law enforcement obviously told everyone about my brain savant. Everyone knew by June 2023, and I only told people after August 25th, 2023. It's just like, I was watching a video on lottery winners the other night, and it was like, that's what they said. They're like, "Never tell anyone." It's like, I wouldn't tell anyone. I'm not that stupid. I never did. After August 9, 2022, when I used it for 6 hours, the entire time, by the way, they were hitting my foot right over here, the entire 6-hour long flight, like really, really hard. And yeah, to try to get me to not study. Like, literally an arm came out of my body. I knew the ear drugging was lowered because they were scared that it might cause mid-flight medical emergency. I'm not going to stop studying. Like, literally an arm came out of my body. I'm not going to stop studying. So I studied for the entire 6 hours. I didn't know there was a brain scanner. Well, there was. And that just happened to be good news for me, because 6 hours of artificial intelligence data, it's undeniable. Especially when a person like me is saying what the artificial intelligence report says without anyone telling me what it says, which means that obviously I'm either telling the truth or I'm psychic, one or the other. Well, anyways, yeah. So these people, Freya the Greedy Framer is still running after me for her daughter, which is a very predator-like move. You know, it's like if you watch the videos on lottery winners, you always have these kind of people around them that are trying to be a predator, which is why, yeah, after I get married, like I plan on like not like socializing with people, which I already don't do much of, and yeah. I say it like I say it like I do a lot of it. Well, anyways, yeah. There are a lot of copycats out there now. They're all autistic. Um, they're all lacking social skills, but they're not copying it right. The way it works is you're just socially awkward. Not as in socially awkward like how I was standing at Aveleaf Coffee today when my I took my mother there this morning. Not that socially awkward. That is drugged socially awkward. I'm not like that. Socially awkward is as in socially awkward is as in you're at a place and you feel really good about a person, and either that or they say something really cheesy and you get a little too excited for them, and it shows in your emotions. Well, my emotions are already smiling like 24/7, and that's not how I talk. Like, by the way, they use drugs due to which it inhibits me from being able to talk properly. And yeah, basically I'm smiling all day and night long in my regular emotions, which are totally blocked out. And then on top of that, if I see someone like some guys showing off a lot, and like the policewoman opening his door and closing it for him and stuff like that, socially awkward behaviors, like I would get really excited for him, and it would look really awkward in public. That would be like socially awkward, like be acting in a way that is not up to societal norms, and normal people do not act like. That's what socially awkward means. It's not. I know I look a little weird at like the Ivy Leaf coffee today this morning when I took my mother there. I was looking away, and that's not me. That's just drugged. It has nothing to do with me. If you want to copy me, don't copy that, please, because that was drugged. I do not act like that at all. That's what socially awkward means. Yes, obviously it's due to autism, and also on January 20th, 2026, the law enforcement tested out me watching documentaries and how my brain would gain pleasure from it. So obviously, if my brain has since an early age, since about the age of 9 years old, has been gaining pleasure from staring into things like the History Channel logo, which by now we cannot argue about, because law enforcement literally has a time machine, and they use that time machine to find out that I was telling the truth. Before I went to Russia, I told everyone that when I was a child around 9 years old, is when it started to evolve. My they're not letting me talk. My autistic brain savant, and I would stare into the History Channel logo all day from morning till night. Till at nighttime, my mother would turn off the TV and I would go to sleep. The next morning, I would wake up and I would do the exact same thing. And it's just like, yeah, excuse me. Yeah. So exact same thing from morning till night. I would just stare into the History Channel logo from morning till night, and at nighttime, my mother would come over, turn off the TV, and I would go to sleep. And like it would just repeat the next morning, the next day afterwards. Obviously, like everything I said, law enforcement were just like, nice story, beautiful lie, blah blah blah, this and that. They deny every single thing I say. Instead, they had their own theories, like he meditated for 3 days, and that's how he got brain savant. Yeah, I think I'll go with my theory on that one. Well, anyways, they were able to test it out. They literally have a time machine, and they tested it out on January 20th, 2026, and they found out that I was telling the truth. They just told their computer, like artificial intelligence, to lock up the entire brain of mine, the autistic part of my brain, except for the childhood part of my autistic brain, and I was able to watch documentaries on January 20th, 2026, feeling exactly like how I used to when I was a child. That same exact feeling that I would get when I was a child watching documentaries when brain savant first started to evolve. Yeah, and it was mind blowing. I don't know how to describe it. You have to understand the fact that the brain savant is evolved. If they let go of my brain savant, I cannot replicate that. I can't watch a documentary and like have that same sense of pleasure. Instead, I would stare into textbooks. and I would stare into textbooks, and it would give me my powers, and those powers would increase over time. Instantaneous photographic memory, innovation, and focusing. Focusing basically means I could do it for hours without needing a single second break, and also it means it gives me robot-like features. Like I could crush my desires, hormones, thoughts, everything except for one thought process. Like people would crush like a can of Coke or something. It's like a robot like thing I have due to focusing being a superhuman power. Innovation was tested a few weeks before April 22nd, 2025. I was laying in my bed and they tested out innovation. But yeah, so we found out on January 20th, 2026 that I was telling the truth after all. And it did start off with me sharing in the History Channel logo as a child, which explains why I do not derive my pleasures from socializing. Now, it does not mean that I cannot socialize. It just means that I do not derive my pleasures from socializing. And also, people like me would have would fear embarrassing myself in public, but that's not how it is when I was at Averly Coffee this morning. That was completely drugged. It's differently. Does not mean I cannot socialize. I still can. Definitely can. It's basically like someone showing off a little bit too much or something of that sort of nature, and people like me get a little overexcited when we see stuff like that, and that looks really abnormal in public. And law enforcement knows I'm telling the truth about this, because even when scenes like these would come up in movies, obviously my brain would get overly excited, like as if I'm like outside, or like I see like a protest and I get overly excited, like as if I'm outside and I'm really happy for them to have all these people there, and it looks really socially awkward. That's what it means to be socially awkward. It doesn't mean the way I was standing at the coffee shop this morning. That was completely drugged. Okay. That was completely drugged. In reality, my face cannot stop smiling, much more than it was right now, like completely smiling. And on top of that, if I see something that's gonna make me look socially awkward, I would get a little bit even more excited, and that would not look good in public. Yeah, that's what it means. But that's pretty much all there is to it. The way people are trying to copy me is just not right. I'm not gonna ignore people's phone calls and try to act like one day I do not have any friends. Well, I don't have any friends, but if I did, I definitely would not ignore their phone calls and be rude with them just to try to act like I like social skills so that girls would like me more. Like, that is definitely not something I would do. These people are copying me all wrong, and I just think it's really funny because people are getting pissed off at them and for suddenly waking up one morning and acting like they don't have any friends when the people are calling them. It's just like they're copying it all wrong. And like the way I was socially awkward at the coffee shop this morning is definitely not how that's not how I am. That's not how it is. That's not how it works. Okay, I'm not gonna look away from people and things, stare at things that I'm not supposed to be, stuff like that. It's totally different. In reality, I'd be smiling to the point that I cannot help save my life. And on top of that, if I would see someone showing off or something like that, I would just crack up, and it would just look really awkward on my face. It's hard to explain it. It's like when I see certain scenes in movies where people are trying to show off, it happens like that, and like obviously you cannot fake that because brain signals would indicate that this person is really socially awkward. Anyways, that's not what I made the video to talk about today. Basically, yeah. I had to talk about Kelly from Law Enforcement. How can I say this? They're not letting me talk right now because they don't want me to say this. But her inappropriate advances that I never asked for and I do not want. And so here's the journal. Let me go ahead and put it through. Apart from Farrah the Greedy Framer and Miss Depp, the other person trying to force me to comply with this marriage prenup scam is Kelly from law enforcement. I saw Kelly from law enforcement near the Russian consulate in DC when I was applying for my Russian visa. Yeah, Kelly from law enforcement showed up there. Her hair was like all over the place, and yeah, and so and yeah, she was a white girl with thin face. She was right there near the Russian consulate, and she was just there to show herself to me because obviously she is a money grab, and she wanted me to marry her. Um, excuse me. So recently she got braids, and she told me to go see her on July 2nd at the Food Line grocery store. The commercial that she used to let me know that she now has braids has a Caucasian girl with braids running, and yeah, and so with very little clothes, and then it would show like the Food Line commercial, and to try to tell me that I've got braids now, why don't you come over and see me? So this is what the commercial looked like. Here it is right over here. You see the girl. It's a Caucasian girl wearing very little clothes, and she is basically she has braids now, and she's trying to tell me that I have braids now, so why don't you come and see me at Food Line? Because the next commercial would be for Food Line. Obviously, I didn't go to the Food Line on July 2nd, because I'm not interested, and I'm okay. I'm all right, really. Like, seriously. And so I didn't go to Food Line July 2nd. And then after this commercial was the Food Line commercial, but I didn't go. Yeah. So basically that was that from July 2nd, and then after that, July 3rd was like an underwear ad where the underwear is talking, and it's saying that I'm your underwear and I'm like really comfy or something, and then Kelly from law enforcement uses these tools to touch my penis and stroke it while that commercial is going on. Like, it's just kind of like, yeah, a little bit too much, I would have to say. But so let me go. That was July 3rd. Yeah. So when I was applying for my Russian visa, yeah, okay, that sentence done. Kelly's is a Caucasian girl with a thin white face whose family is from Utah, belongs to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Days, and her hair was all over the place when I saw her near the Russian consulate in DC. Just recently, Kelly asked me around July 2nd, 2026, using ads on my YouTube to tell me that Kelly has now has braids for her hair. That was the commercial I just showed you right now for her hair, and wished to see me at the Food Line grocery store outside of my house, due to which I did not go to Food Line that night because I have no interest in seeing her anywhere. Like, yeah. So on July 4th, 2026, so basically after July 2nd, there was July 3rd. On July 3rd, she puts the underwear commercial with the underwear is basically talking and saying that I'm really comfy and you're wearing me and this and that. And then she starts stroking my penis again while that commercial is going on. And then on July 4th, 2026 at 6:34 p.m., Kelly put an ad for Kelly's Blue Book on my phone. That's also attached to kind of say that if you don't go with me, marrying me, then I'm going to harass you and break your car. Yeah, she's basically running the same prenup scam that For the Greedy Framer is running and Miss Deb is running. Well, Miss Deb was running. Now it's been a day or two. But For the Greedy Framer, she is a predator. She will not stop. I've told her, she sent it to me like 27 times already. I told her on the first day, June 16, I told law enforcement, like, I'm not interested in her abnormal looking weirdo daughter. I've had enough with her lies, envious maid lies, and I don't want her daughter. And her abnormal looking weirdo daughter, I do not want. And I told law enforcement to go tell For the Greedy Framer, and they did. And those remaining ads for her daughter are all like forced marriage ads, and I'm just like, I'm not interested. Like, what part of that do you not understand? Like, I am not interested, lady. And like, after July 6th, I just made a video and let everyone know exactly the fact that The fact that yeah, they're basically running prenup marriage scams. And Farah excuse me, had this on February 21st. She would send me this $60 million request. She sent it at least like 8 times at least, and it was just kind of like really annoying. And law enforcement just went back and told her, like, he's not buying this. He knows you guys confessed to the government informant before November 20th, and he knows about November 20th being fully found out with the government informant. He also knows that you confessed to these lies being lies to the government informant while you were fabricating November 20th. Obviously, no one told me, but that's how it works, right? You get a corrupt person from law enforcement. They're supposed to be an expert at fabricating false testimonies. What do? You give them all of them, not just one. You want them all fixed. Like, you're getting free service. You might as well get all of them fixed. So you're not just going to give them November 20th. You'll just be like, but wait, there's more. like you're ruining someone's life. This is not a joke, first of all, but that's how they did it. And they just literally told the government informant before November 20th. They were just like, but wait, there's more. We've got more lies that we're going to make against him even after November 20th, to make sure that we enviously lock up his brain savant so that he can never use it ever again, and so that no one gets the money we can't get. That artificial intelligence has already predicted. So yeah, it was obvious. There's a government informant, and they were sent to their house, and the government informant is working for them without charge, and they think that it's a law enforcement person who's corrupt. Obviously, they're going to give them all the lies that they have to make against me. That much is obvious, right? And that's exactly what they did. Let's say you take your car to a car mechanic, and the car mechanic is supposed to fix all the problems to your car. You're not just going to be like, this one problem. You're just going to be like, but wait, there's more. We've got more problems in our car. We want you to fix all of them since you're doing it for free. Like, the government's not stupid. They were listening in on them trying to frame me, and they said in the government informant that was not a corrupt person from law enforcement. So, like, I knew this for a fact. Like, they would do this. They're extremely envious of my brain savant, and they cannot see the fact that my brain savant would get freed, my mother would get the fruits of her lifelong labor, and, I'd be happy with the money that I would make. They're not going to see that. They told the government informant pretty much everything. That much was obvious. I didn't have to be a genius to solve this one. So when on February 21st, 2026, the $60 million price tag blackmails started coming to me, I told law enforcement, I was like, let me guess this one a little bit. Fire the greedy framers and her framer sisters and trying to lock up my brain savant due to the fact that I would not marry their daughter, and the money would go to someone else's daughter, and they could not watch someone else's daughter with all that brain savant money that law enforcement has told everyone about. That artificial intelligence has basically said he's Kim Peek Raid Man, along with innovation and focusing, which means that he could do it all day from morning till night, which means that he's literally going to make money like crazy every single day, all day long, and his powers increase over time. And your daughter's not getting it. I'm so sorry. And so obviously they were just like, that's not happening on our watch. And they made up lies after lies. And then when the government government informant showed up, basically they thought it was the corrupt person in law enforcement helping them frame me. They obviously gave the person all the lies, not just November 20th. They're like, but wait, there's more. We've got more lies we're going to make after November 20th to make sure that there's no way his brain savant is getting freed. Now, our daughter doesn't get the money. No one else's daughter gets it either. And yes, we know that this is true, since the greedy framer spokesperson's mother basically sent me ads for her daughter 3 times on March 9th, and then also on April 6th, 2026. So just a couple months ago. So yes, and then a further greedy framer, for a fact, she sends me ads for her abnormal looking weirdo daughter every single day, including yesterday. Like, every single day the ads for her daughter come. And by now it's been at least 27 ads in like the last 26 days. Yeah. So basically the motive was he's get extremely rich. We're not going to get the money because he doesn't want to marry our daughter, but he wants all these good looking girls. Yeah, you got that right. And they would just be like, they would just be like, they had all these lies, and they basically, be due to extreme envy and greed, the kind of people that they were getting free service, which was a law enforcement person helping them fabricate false testimonies against me, and they were just like, we're getting free service, we're gonna get all of our lives fixed. Like, you go to a car mechanic, you're getting a free car mechanic, you're just like, we're gonna get all our problems fixed in our car. Basically, these people, the entire time, like my childhood, law enforcement would tell you it was basically poverty, and these people, like, they weren't poor. Like, my mother, worked at like fast food restaurants when I was a child, and the best meal I had was like, when she would go pick up her paycheck from Popeyes every 2 weeks. There was a guy named Prince that used to work there. He'd just grab out like a piece of fried chicken and just hand it to me. I was like 9 years old at that time. Yeah, and that's what my life was like. It was extremely poor, and like, these people found out about my brain savant. They're like, we're not on our watch. He's not going to become extremely rich much more than we are. Like, their problem is, like, if their husband works as like a pharmacist, he earns like $6,000-7,000 a month. Their child is like, I'm not saying it is like this, I'm just saying it could be like this, where their child would be like a drug addict buying street drugs that have higher addiction potential than heroin, and he would be overdosing every other week, stuff like that. Not saying that it is like this, I'm just saying it could be like this, which is why they are so obsessed with me and so envious of me, and which is why, like, law enforcement basically wants to make me look like that. It would try to say stuff like that about me, to make me look like the bad guy and make them look like these, model kids or whatever, when in fact there hasn't been a single instance of me, not once ever in my entire life, ever buying street drugs, and I cannot imagine myself doing so. I've been watched since I was an 11-year-old child. Not one instance of me ever buying street drugs for the past 10 years of my life. I haven't even had any controlled substances, through prescription medications. Forget street drugs. For the past 10 years, I haven't even had any controlled substances, through prescription medications. Forget street drugs, and not any controlled substances. Not Schedule 5. They've got 5 schedules for controlled substances. Number 1 is obviously street drugs, and the rest are all legal. So I haven't had any controlled substances, in the past, in at least the past 10 years of my life. Yeah. And I've never bought street drugs my entire life. Never bought street drugs my entire life. Okay. Yeah. And they're trying to label me like as being like a drug addict. Like, if I was a drug addict, they would have more than one conversation my entire life of joking around with someone about buying drugs. In my entire life, one text message conversation of me joking around with someone about buying drugs from them, and like, that would be literally all they have. You gotta remember, watch 24/7 since I was an 11-year-old child. All they have is one conversation of me, joking around with someone about buying drugs, and they would just try to use that against me. Yeah, drug addicts use drugs on a regular basis. They're dependent on it. Their life revolves around it. They use it every single day. They overdose on it. They get help and treatment on it. Yeah. Definitely not, something that ever happened with me, ever. Not once, not ever. But yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, the only thing that, like, I would think of that law enforcement could ever, say about me, would be that he had like ADD at one point, and he was given medications, like, not ADD. It was just like, I have like hyperactivity, and in order to like lower that a little bit, I needed medications at one point. And that was just it. And yeah, even right now, like, if they don't use their drugs on me, I have a lot of energy. to the point that I remember, like, when I was saving up money to for school, to finish school, which obviously I did finish by going back and sleeping on the streets. But when I was saving up money to finish school, I would work at a CVS pharmacy in 2018. They're not letting me talk in 2018, and I would literally just I would work like a 12-hour shift without even like a 15-minute break, and at the end of the 12-hour shifts, I would run like three registers, like three registers I'm running at the end of a 12-hour shift is how much energy I have, if they don't like suppress that energy using their tools. But yeah, it's like in order to like suppress that energy, like without like law enforcement using their tools, basically I was medicated for a little while, but the medications caused a little bit of addiction potential, due to which I went and I told my doctor to never prescribe it to me ever again and put in this computer system never to give it to me ever again. And obviously that would be like the only thing that they would have against me. Even though I went and I told my doctor that it has high addiction potential, so don't ever give it to me. But yeah, like literally never bought any street drugs my entire life. I can't imagine myself doing that. And didn't even use any controlled substances for the past at least 10 years of my life. Um, yeah, not even any controlled substances for like the past 10 years of my life. So basically, controlled substances have five categories. For number one is our street drugs, which are illegal, and 2 to 5 are sold in pharmacies. So basically, not even any of that for at least like the past 10 years of my life. And they're like trying to make up all these rumors and things about me, which are absolutely not true. I don't even drink alcohol or do anything of that sort in nature. They just want me to look like the bad guy. But anyways, yeah. And like the problem with them is their kids, or basically these people that were enviously making lies about me. I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying they could be because of the way they were raised in comfort. For me, I always say that poverty was a blessing in disguise for me. For their kids, it's the exact opposite. Comfort was the exact opposite. It wasn't a blessing for them. And they ended up being something that their parents did not want them to be. Basically, around the lines of people buying street drugs that have a higher addiction potential than heroin and overdosing on it literally every other week, that kind of thing. And obviously, what if people would find out about that kind of thing? What do? The person you're most envious of, you try to reflect it onto them when in fact it has nothing to do with me, and I'm not like that at all. But anyways, so Kelly from law enforcement wishes to run these marriage scams. So basically, the problem with talking about this is the fact that there are a lot of stupid people out there, and they jump the bandwagon. And it's just like a girl out there finds out about Kelly, and she says, "Well, Kelly's doing this incredibly stupid thing, that I'm going to do it too." And the thing about it is, it's like a bandwagon effect. You see someone else doing it, then you're like, I'm going to do this too. So Miss Deb saw Farrah the Greedy Framer, who's narrating against me in trial, telling law enforcement, why don't you go send my ads for my daughter to him? Yeah, 100% predator. She just wants the money that she sent like $60 million price tag blackmails for starting February 21st. And that's exactly why she's doing this. And obviously other people that see these kinds of things, they get like kind of greedy themselves, like Miss Deb did. And Miss Deb has one daughter. Her daughter Ashley is married, happily married, not separated, not divorced. They both drink coffee together in the morning, kiss each other goodbye, and go to work. And Miss Deb sees Farrah the Greedy Framer, and she goes, well, you're doing this, so I'm going to do this too. And Miss Deb starts sending me ads for her daughter too, who's married, by the way. But obviously people see the scam and they see the money, and they're like, she could get money out of this scam, so I want money out of this scam too. It's like the lottery winners bad luck, before you even cash out your lottery, which is exactly why I never told anyone. After I found out August 9, 2022, I never told anyone about it. Law enforcement told everyone about it on June 2023, and they did it for their own sex scams. Exactly why the girl with the letter A, starting with the name with the letter A, went left at one time, and they were putting ads on there that said bring her back. They want these girls to be there so they could scam them, try to run after them, encourage them to sleep with other guys that they know, things of that sort of nature. Yeah. And so they went and they told people themselves they wanted these girls to come try to follow me around. In reality, they would basically be scamming the girls. We know this for a fact because one of the girls left. Her name started with the letter A. They became incredibly furious. They started putting up on there, bring her back, the commercial for it, as in bring her back, act like you're into her. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not into her. Now that's perfect proof that you are running a scam on these girls. So basically, when Fur the Greedy Framer would act like a predator and put up there, she would put up their ads for her daughter, and then she would even go a step further to text me after getting my number from my sister. Like basically, she stalked me by sending a birthday wish on July 18, 2024, and then she texted me on every single occasion afterwards, to which I only replied by just saying thank you each time. Never called her or anything like that, even though one time she left a voice message. Law enforcement would become incredibly angry about this fact. And they would put on my TV home screen in big letters, it would say, "Stunt woman makes first move," whenever a text message would come. And the reason was law enforcement were pissed off that because of this behavior of her text coming, the other girls might leave. And if the other girls left, then that would be a problem for law enforcement because they were basically scamming those girls. Yeah. And I found that out when one of the girls left. Her name started with the letter A, and law enforcement became really angry about this. So yeah, the problem is like when people do stupid things, other people try to do it too. They imitate it, they mimic it, even though it makes no sense. Like for the Greedy Framer running after me for her daughter, obviously it's a scam. And she's in for the money. She's a predator. She's in for the money. She's found out through law enforcement. And I'm sure she's also found out from the Indian government as well. And so she is a predator. Excuse me. And that's why she was running after me. Miss Deb, whose daughter, by the way, is married, she sees Fur the Greedy Framer. She says, "You're doing this, I'm going to do this too." Miss Deb's daughter, by the way, is married. That makes it incredibly hilarious. And Miss Deb starts sending me ads for her daughter when in fact, in court, she's saying that my brain savant should be locked up because I'm a bad person. And they would even say stuff like, I'm aggressive and stuff like that. Well, if I'm aggressive and I'm a bad person, wouldn't that put your daughter in danger if you're trying to force me to marry her? Yeah, you're not making any sense here, lady. Like, you're saying two different things, basically meaning that you were running after me in 2023 and 2024 for greed for the brain savant money that you thought would get freed, due to which a month ago you were enviously locking it up using all these theories like I'm a bad person, I'm aggressive and this and that, and now that you see that it could get unlocked and someone else is running for their daughter, you're running for your daughter as well, even though your daughter is happily married. So, didn't have to be a genius to solve this one. Now, did I? No. So, basically, the problem with this is, like, when you talk about this, there are a lot of girls out there that are incredibly stupid who would find out about it. And people tend to mimic and copy other people that are doing stupid things. So, a guy whose brain savant isn't even freed yet, they would go start following him around only because Kelly from law enforcement did so. Kelly from law enforcement is an idiot whom I'm never going to go for anyways, and copying someone like that is a very stupid thing to do. Well, anyways, especially when the person's brain savant isn't even freed. Like, why would you even do that? But yeah, so basically, Kelly basically put that ad on my thing. Yeah. So also, Yeah. So one of the reasons that these people do this is because of the fact that people that are basically autistic, they have like a really regressed face, and it's just like they have childlike features on their face, and their faces look different. Things that these people copying me cannot mimic at all, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Yeah, and there's like a disease condition. You cannot copy this. It's like, how are you doing this? I do not get this. But anyways, so it's like all I had to say was looks can be deceiving, and you might think that I might look really childlike, but I will let you know that if you are going to be running after me like a predator, I'm not going for you, first of all. And second of all, I will report it the first instance I can. And there's people who are not going to get anything out of me. So men that are autistic have a broader upper lip and a wider mouth. Due to which I said that people would always look at my mouth when talking to me because it looked like it was all over the place whenever I would talk to people. So yeah, that much is true. You probably tell from my mouth. Well, anyways, if you watch the video that I have for May 31st, it looks totally different from the other videos due to the fact that they changed my face a lot. In fact, the last time I saw my real skin color was on September 15, 2025, when I went to go get my brake pads changed. That's how I remember it. And so, yeah, they're really envious of my face as well. They changed my skin color and everything. I don't care what my skin color is. But yeah. So, along with a regress face, making them look childlike, which is how autistic people look like, due to which these people think that I am somehow retarded, childlike, or easy to control, when in fact I am saying right now that no means no, and I am saying no to all of these money grabs, and that I am not interested in any of these people. Basically, I got sick and tired of mainly Fire the Greedy Framer, because I told her day one, June 16, like, your lady, I'm not interested in your abnormal looking, weirdo, ugly daughter. Like, I do not want her. Like, I don't want her. I know you're running a prenup marriage scam, but I don't want her. So, like, she, like, even after the first day, law enforcement told her, and now I have 26 forced marriage requests. Since the first one was one where I rejected her daughter right away, and she knows I rejected her. And the reason these people keep doing this is because they treat me like I'm some sort of a duck, and they could just like try to put me inside a cage and take all the money for themselves. They're basically, Fire the Greedy Framer is a predator, and like in 2024, she would send these ads for Sheba Fancy Feast cat food literally look like incest, and other ads as well that were like that. It was nothing that we could prove at that time. But on February 11th at 3:17 a.m. when she was sent, she and her abnormal siblings sent me a porn star named Sunny Leone's picture with her name on it, and they were told that this is an open advertisement for incest, and they sent it to me 3 times again on March 7, 2026, despite knowing that it's already been labeled as an open advertisement for incest. Clearly shows from facts and evidences that these people are sending open advertisements for incest knowingly. And absolutely, Fire the Greedy Framer is a predator who would do anything for money. Which is why she sent me those $60 million blackmail price tag starting February 21st, at least 8 times. And I told law enforcement, I know what the story is. I know they confessed to the government informant, and that's the only reason they're sending this to me, and tell them that I know what the story is. They could stop. I'm not going to pay this ever, not once, not ever. And that right now, the Fire the Greedy Framer is like enviously like trying to lock up my brain savant in court, making fabrications and lies and exaggerations against me. And at the same time, she's like greedily sending me all these requests for me to marry her daughter, which are not marriage requests. After July 6th, I already labeled it as a prenup marriage scam, where she would put her $60 million demand on there, and after I would run away from her ugly looking weirdo daughter, knowing that the court case was done and she's no longer making November 20th like false testimonies or the subsequent lies that she'd already confessed to the government informant, then she would harass me in court for the rest of my life for that $60 million that she's obsessed with. Like, seriously, these people are extremely annoying. So I had to let them know that I might look like I'm retarded, but I'm not. It is just a disease condition, and it makes my face look really regressed. And exactly how regressed it makes my face look like, you could watch the video from May 31st, 2026, because they changed my face over time. So if I look autistic, they would change it around so that I don't look like it. But one of the videos basically caught it. May 31st, 2026. So if someone watches that, they will know that, like, how regressed it looks and how people that have autism really look like, and how they're trying to hide that using their tools now. Since even my skin color has been changed, and the last time I saw it was September 15, 2025, when I went to go get my brake pads changed, and they never let it be seen like that ever again. So I do not wish to be annoyed by these marriage request scams, that these money grabs are running on me. And if these marriage scammers think that having a regressed childlike face means that I am very naive and retarded, then I am letting all of these money grabs and scammers know that I am fully intending on getting all of the easy money out of the penis touching and sexual harassment that I'm being forced to go through with Kelly from law enforcement, and will get all of my monetary compensation from the government for it afterwards. So basically, it's easy money. It's easy money. It's still regarded as sexual harassment because she is touching my penis all day night long, and I do not want it. Like, I don't want it. Like, I don't know how to say it. And afterwards, with me writing down each and every sexual harassment incident that I had to go through with Kelly from law enforcement, with her thinking that she would be able to run the money scam on me by doing this, when in fact I'm going to use each and every sexual harassment incident to get money out of the government for it. So yeah, pretty much that's it. And looks can be deceiving. If you go by my childlike regressed face due to autism, be prepared to pay the monetary compensation when I get compensation for each of those sexual harassment incidents from the government below. I have enough love in my life and do not appreciate the unwelcome advances from any of the mentioned 3 money grabs above. So for the Greedy Framer, Miss Deb, and Kelly from law enforcement, all 3 of them need to understand the fact that I said no, and no means no. This autistic face of mine was seen on May 31st, 2026, when I made the video of myself on YouTube. For some odd reason, the person in law enforcement who was supposed to make my face look rough and different from regular autistic people forgot to change my face that day, due to which my face looked like how autistic people's regressed faces look like in the video I made on May 31st, 2026. In fact, even my skin color is not the skin color you see in the videos I make of myself. In fact, the last time I saw my skin color as it is was on September 15th, 2025. And I remember this due to being the day that I went to go get my brake pads changed. These people in law enforcement are so obsessed with every autistic feature that I have that they do not even put the blackmail price tags underneath videos that I watch that has to do with history, Rome, Caesar, or any of the videos that I watch that have to do with childhood obsessions due to autism, but only put these blackmail price tags of millions of dollars or euros coming from my dad, the Greedy Framer, to check to see if I would be willing to give him illegal assurance of money or not, only on videos that that do not have anything to do with history, Rome, Caesar, or any of the videos that I watch that have to do with my childhood obsessions due to autism. So basically, law enforcement is so obsessed with my autistic features that, since childhood, I had obsession with things like history, which is why people in my high school, like Natalia, would call me the History Channel as a joke. Yeah, and it's like all these weirdos like Junaid would literally go around telling people that not only is he autistic, he's also obsessed with being a knight. And anyone in my high school would tell you that I was they literally called me the History Channel. Not every autistic person has the same obsession. So if you want to pretend to be autistic, you might as well go and make up another obsession that you have, and somehow get the same kind of regressed face that I would have that was seen on May 31st, 2026, which I think is pretty much impossible, since these people are not all autistic. It's incredibly annoying for someone like Junaid to be copying me and telling people that he's autistic and things of that sort of nature. It's so annoying. But yeah, like not every autistic person has like the same obsession, and like the blackmail price tags that I get, they don't put it underneath the videos that are have to do with History Caesar or any of my childhood obsessions that I watch on YouTube. Even though I watch them all day and night long, what they do is they fluctuate my dopamine a little bit, so I would feel like watching something else about a house or something. And as soon as I would watch that, they would put the price tag blackmails underneath that video, so that when I take a picture of the price tag blackmails, it would not show one of my obsessions, so that my autistic features in terms of obsessions with history, Rome, Caesar would not be seen. That's how obsessed they are with my autism not wanting to be seen with its features out in the open, because they think that my brain savant's already giving me enough attention as it is, and they want the attention people of their BFFs who do not even have autism. And I just think it's like really really like great news for other people with autism. Like it's being considered as something to be valued and respected and loved, and I just feel that that's nice, only because of the attention that it's grabbing. Yeah. I love that, and they try to hide all the features, like the obsessions that I had since childhood. That's now been proven, by the way, for with their time machine from January 20th, 2026. Yeah, they try to hide those obsessions, like with history, Caesar, Rome, and things of that sort of nature. And their weirdos like Junaid would go around telling people not only that he has autism, but also that he's obsessed with being a knight, which I think is incredibly hilarious, since not every autistic person has the same obsession. And these people are incredibly funny, because they would be like, I lack social skills, and then the next day, people like Junaid would just not pick up phone calls for people that would call him to try to act like he lacks social skills. Lacking social skills does not mean you do not talk to people on the phone. It's a misconception that people have. It basically just means that you still talk to people. You still socialize with them. For one, you do not derive your pleasure from socializing. What you do derive your pleasure from are things that have to do with autism and the obsessions from it. Like for me, it was watching documentaries mainly that had to do with history. This point of mine was proven from their time machine. Literally, I call it a time machine. And people from law enforcement like Kelly use it to stroke my penis with, and law enforcement use it to run sex games for Uncle Joey with. But I call it the time machine because it's so advanced that on January 20th, 2026, they were able to test out this theory of mine by using this tool that's incredibly advanced technology to basically make my brain go back in time to the point where it wasn't yet evolved, and I would watch documentaries and get my pleasure from that instead of staring into textbooks, and be able to get instantaneous photographic memory, innovation, and focusing, have its powers increase over time due to autism. That early point in my life, at 9 years old, when I would watch documentaries, they were able to use this tool of theirs on January 20th, 2026 to get it to go back in time to get my brain to derive the same kind of pleasures from watching documentaries, like how it did when I was a 9-year-old child, something that I cannot imitate, even if they let my brain salon go completely, due to the fact that it's been evolved. I can't get that pleasure from watching documentaries anymore. I can only get it from staring into textbooks now. It's evolved, so I can't do that. How the heck they did it, I have no clue. You're just gonna have to ask them what you did on January 20th, 2026, how advanced this piece of machinery is that you use to stroke his penis with. Yeah, but yeah, so it was proven on that day, January 20th, 2026, that my brain derives its pleasures from my autistic obsessions, like watching documentaries, rather than socializing with other human beings, even though I can do it. Just people that lack social skills does not mean that they cannot socialize, and I would never hang up on someone on their phone if they called me, nor would I act like I can't talk to them over the phone if they called me. That's not how lacking social skills work. Yeah, you still talk to people, you just don't get you don't get as much pleasure as normal human beings get, and that was literally proven from their, I call it the time machine. from their time machine on January 20th, 2026, because they were able to use it to go back in time with. Yeah, so that's what lacking social skills means. If you want to copy someone, copy them right, because you're getting it all wrong. Like, people like Junaid are copying it all wrong. Like, people would call him and he would just not talk to them, and that's incredibly rude. Like, if I had friends, I had people that liked me, people that called me, I would definitely talk to them. I just don't have any friends. That's all there is. In 2024, when I was literally starving, Junaid would call everyone, and he would tell them, and he'd be like, I have plenty of friends. Hassan has no friends. I have plenty of friends. I have so many friends. I talk to them all day and night long. Now he's pretending to lack social skills. And at that time in 2024, countries would literally put messages on my YouTube that would say, I just wanted to let you know that all of Russia is your friend. And I just thought that was so sweet. I was like, that's the nicest thing anyone that's ever told me. And I knew that was because of douchebags like Junaid going around telling people that I have plenty of friends. Hassan has no friends and stuff like that. Like, yeah, no kidding. Hassan's been autistic since he was a child. He doesn't get any pleasure from socializing, but that does not mean that I cannot socialize with people. People that are not social can still socialize with people. They just won't get the pleasure from it like normal human beings get, and that was proven from their time machine on January 20th, 2026, when that was tested out. You can ask law enforcement about the results of that test. People like me derive our pleasures from the obsessions that we have due to autism, which started off from staring into the History Channel logo as a child. It developed and evolved into me staring into textbooks now with powers like instantaneous photographic memory, innovation, and focusing. That is basically evolved so much that I know for a fact very soon it's going to be better than Kim Peek Rain Man. And we know for a fact that I'm telling the truth, because due to the fact that the law enforcement has basically cheated on all of their tests. What they do is, excuse me, they, every time it's time for a brain savant test, they don't do one. Instead, they cheat. And what they do is they do a less than a minute long test. They do a less than a minute long test. They let the air jogging go for a little while, less than a minute. They get artificial intelligence to calculate from that less than a minute long test, where they let my air jogging go for less than a minute. Artificial intelligence calculates in that less than a minute long test what would happen if that was a 30-minute test, and what would we see out in the open if that was a 30-minute test. When artificial intelligence tells them what would happen, which is basically telling them in the artificial intelligence report, he is Kim Peek Rain Man. He will own you all over the field. He's going to be Kim Peek Rain Man in the 30-minute test. As soon as the artificial intelligence report tells them what's going to happen in the 30-minute test from that less than a minute long test, our law enforcement quickly lock it up, close everything up, run away, never to talk about any brain savant tests ever again. And you know for a fact that I'm telling the truth about me, the artificial intelligence report saying that I am Kim Peek Rain Man from that less than a minute long brain savant test done on days like November 14th, 2025, May 10th, 2026, and like recently it was June 24th, 2026, due to the fact that when the results come out, something crazy happens. Like when November 14, 2025 results came out, on December 10, 2025, there was a girl law enforcement was helping stalk me, and she ended up hitting my car really hard, and I ended up in the emergency room. Yeah, so that results basically did tell law enforcement that I am Kim Peek Rain Man, and except for that, I also have innovation and focusing as well. So yeah, basically they cheat on all of their tests. They do a less than a minute long test, and that less than a minute long test, artificial intelligence basically tells them what would happen at the end of the 30-minute test, what we would see out in in reality in that 30-minute test, due to which they lock everything up, close it, and run away, not to do a 30-minute test. But when the results for the 30-minute test comes out in 21 days or 14 days, we then know that I was telling the truth, and that if they did do a 30-minute test, I would have been Kim Peek Rain Man. Not only that, I would have also had innovation and focusing as superpowers, and those powers would increase over time. So yeah, we know it because they tell their own BFFs and friends when the results come out in 21 days, and they tell their BFFs and friends that if had we done a 30-minute test, you would have seen Rain Man, because that is what artificial intelligence has said in the end of the 21-day test results of artificial intelligence. And I mean, everyone knows about this. And the reason people like my dad, the greedy framer, has been sending me hashtag blackmails, he was basically asked by law enforcement to argue against this on July 7th, but on July 9th and July 10th, when he's told that my brain savant would get freed, he had law enforcement send me price tag blackmails for millions of euros after sending the first one in millions of dollars with his name Mona, nickname Mona written on it. Basically because he knows as well, and he sent me 15 price tag blackmails for millions of euros in a period of 1 day between July 9th and July 10th, after spending the entire day of July 7th arguing that it either doesn't exist or that I would not be able to get zero tolerance coffee done in 30 days. Something that law enforcement so wishes to argue about me, but cannot themselves. Mainly because if law enforcement did argue, people would just be like, if you really think this, why don't you just do a 30-minute test and end this suspense horror movie that you have got going, the suspense movie, this thriller that you have got going. Why don't you just end this, do a 30-minute test if you really believe this? And the other point about law enforcement, the reason why they cannot say this is due to the fact that like it wouldn't make any sense for people who cannot stare at reality for 30 minutes to be arguing whether it's going to take me 30 days or 100 days to get zero tolerance coffee done, when even their own time machine, I call it the time machine, even their time machine with artificial intelligence tells them he is Kim Peek Rain Man, he will own you up and down the field, and his powers are enough that he could do a textbook of medicinal chemistry by Aaron Ball in less than a day, cover to cover. You do not want to mess with this guy. But the way they do, so what they did was on July 7th, they gave this talking point to my dad, the greedy framer, and he says it all day, night long. He doesn't have brain savants. His brain savant's not that much monetary potential. It's not going to make him that much money. No, I know him very well. I have literally never, from facts and evidence as you could check, never lived even in the same country as my dad, the greedy framer. My entire life, never even lived in the same country as my dad, the greedy framer. Whether it was when I was overseas, whether it was when I was over here, ever in my entire life. Never talked to him on the phone. So yeah, so on July 7th, basically, law enforcement takes their talking point, which they cannot argue themselves due to extreme envy, and they give it to my dad, the greedy framer. And the reason, obviously, he begged law enforcement to make November 20th against me, and he begged his framer sisters to make it against me out of extreme envy that my mother would get all the brain savant money. Yeah. And obviously we know this right now, since after and all the subsequent lies he made very aggressively. He would call a court even after getting caught November 20th, after begging the courts, like, you have to let me, please, you have to let me narrate, please, you have to let me narrate, please, you have to let me narrate. Why was he begging the courts to let him narrate? Because he had more lies. He had more lies to make against me. So after December 29th, 2025, he was kicked out of the courts for creating mass panic and chaos over the news media, over a crime inciting that did not even exist, by begging law enforcement and his sisters to try to frame me. December 29, 2025 at 1:27 p.m. This is where he lets it be seen. He sends me not price tag blackmail right now, money transfer ads to try to see if I was willing to give him money or not. So now he's kicked out of court. What he does now is he goes and he starts begging the court, like, you have to let me narrate, please, you have to let me narrate, please, you have to let me narrate, please. And like the courts, like at the end, they just get sick and tired of it, and they're just like, all right, fine, we'll let you narrate. So my dad, the greedy framer, whom I've never lived with my entire life, never even talked to on the phone, finally the courts let him narrate. And what he does narrate are the same lies that were already confessed to being lies before November 20th was fabricated. So basically, my dad, the greedy framer, tried to contact me in 2025 To which I was very polite and nice and respectful, like I am. But after he tried multiple times, like every single day, coming from a guy who only talks to me once a year, and even that is very rudely, I obviously got the point he knows about my brain savant. I started ignoring him, at which point he got the message and he started asking law enforcement to send me requests, not requests, but blackmails. Basically, he started blackmailing me right then and then. Like, you're not going to give me money, I'll take it out of you, sort of thing. So basically, what happened was, yeah. So after, like, he got caught with November 20th creating mass panic and chaos in the news media over a crime inciting that did not even exist by using his framer sisters and begging law enforcement to do it, he got kicked out on December 29, 2025 at 1:27 p.m. And I know the exact date and time because at this exact moment he sends me money transfer ads to try to check to see if I would be willing to give him money or not, which obviously I did mark that time. It's not the time when it got money transfer ads, but as the exact time he got kicked out of the spokesperson stand. Now, after he gets kicked out, he goes back to court and he goes, "You gotta let me narrate, please. You gotta let me narrate, please. You gotta let me narrate, please." And like the courts got sick and tired of it. They're like, "All right, fine. We'll let you narrate in this trial. Go ahead. What do you have to say?" And obviously he starts off like the second time. He's like, "You don't understand. This is what happened. This is the crime that Hassan committed. This is how serious this is. This is how dangerous it is. This is very serious. You have to understand the situation over here." When he was doing all of this, what he did not understand was the fact that his framer sisters had already confessed to the government informant before November 20th, these set of lies that were already planned out from before, and they had already told the government informant that they were going to make these lies against me after November 20th to make sure that there was no way that my brain savant would get freed due to extreme envy of the monetary potential that artificial intelligence label has having. And after my dad, the greedy framer, begged courts to let him back in to narrate in my trial after getting kicked out on December 29, 2025 at 1:27 p.m. and sending me money transfer ads at that exact moment to try to check to see through law enforcement if I was willing to share any of my brain savant money or not. Now that he's let into the trial again for the second time, he's making the same lies that were planned lies that his framer sister already confessed to the government informant that they were going to make these lies against me after November 20th. Basically, my dad, the greedy framer, was begging the courts to let him narrate because the second part of the plan could still work out. And he could get the second part of the plan done even after November 20th, which were the planned lies that he had. And he thought, man, we have planned lies. We need to use those and try to get his brain savant locked up very enviously. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and beg the courts to let me narrate, and I'm going to use those planned lies. So the courts, in the end, even after December 29, 2025, after they kick him out at 1:27 p.m. that day for November 20th, you got to remember, he created mass panic and chaos. No news anchor could smile on live TV after November 20th, 2025, only so that my dad, the greedy framer, could lock up my brain savant because he wasn't getting any of the money from my brain savant. He wanted to make sure my mother couldn't get it either. Now he begs the courts to let him narrate again. "You gotta let me narrate, please." And the courts in the end are just like, "All right, fine, narrate. Go ahead. What do you have to say? Go ahead. What do you want to say?" So now that he's allowed to narrate, he makes the same lies that were already planned lies that were confessed to the government informant as being planned lies that they were planning on making against me, because he didn't want to waste these lies that they had already planned out with him and his framer sisters to make sure that there was no way that my brain savant could get freed. So these lies were already confessed to the government informant before November 20th by his framer sisters as being planned lies. Imagine his framer sisters' horror watching their brother, my dad, the greedy framer, after he's allowed back into court, after begging the court so much all day, night long, and he's making the lies that have already been confessed to the government informant before November 20th, 2025 as being planned lies. His framer sisters could not do anything about it. They're not going to call their brother in Ireland and be like, don't make those lies. Don't call the court and make those lies. Obviously, that would look extremely guilty. So every time after begging the courts to let him back in, he would make the lies and he would make it like, you don't understand. This is very serious. Ihsaan he's very bad. He could do this. He could do like all these things were already all planned lies. And everything that was part of the script that was already shown to the government informant as being a lie. Due to which, for the second time, after begging the courts to let him back in, he was making lies that the courts knew were absolute lies. Imagine the horror on his sisters' faces, who had already confessed these as being planned lies to the government informant, after watching their brother beg the courts to let him narrate in the trial, just so that he could narrate these lies and enviously have my brain savant locked up. Imagine his framer sister's horror, watching her brother make these lies against me to enviously lock up my brain savant, knowing that these lies have already been confessed to the government informant before November 20th as being planned lies, and there was nothing they could do about it. They can't call him and be like, don't make those lies we planned out, because that would be like a piece of evidence. Like, the government was planning on watching over this. They knew this, and they had already told each other, after November 20th, do not, and I repeat, do not talk about this stuff or the planned lies over the phone. So, because obviously they had huge major false testimony that they were going to make sure that my brain savant could not get freed, my mother could not get the money that they could not get. So they'd already told each other not talk about the planned lies over the phone, and it would look even weirder if, like, his sister called him and she's like, you know those planned lies? He'd be like, don't talk about it over the phone, because that would look even more guilty. So his sisters would basically literally had to watch him make those lies against me after begging the courts to let him back in, that they'd already confessed to the government informant as being planned lies. For the second time, after begging the courts to let him back in, he's making lies that have already been planned out to being lies after begging the courts all day and night to let him back in, only because he didn't want to waste these lies that he had already worked on with his siblings. And imagine his horror on February 10th when he's told by the courts, like, you know those things you've been telling us, we know they're lies. And he's just like, how do you know? And the courts are probably just like, don't worry about how we know, because obviously they're not going to give away their own government informant who it was. Like, my dad's greedy framer sister, like, after finding out that there was a government informant, she calls the government informant who was in the room fabricating the false testimony against me with her. Like, obviously, if the government puts an informant in there, they're not going to have someone watch the house from the outside. They're going to have someone inside the room fabricating so they know exactly what's going on. Like, how stupid do you think the government is? Like, even I have the IQ to know this much. Like, the government is not going to put someone outside. Like, how stupid do you think the government is? Like, we just had him watch the house, see what the cars that were passing by were like. How stupid do you think the government is? So the government informant obviously was the person that was fabricating with them in that room. And the spokesperson's greedy framer mother, my dad's framer sister, she basically calls the government informant. This is how envious this woman is. She calls the government informant and she says, are you the government informant? And the government informant, obviously, it's not gonna be like, yeah, it's me. Like, all these envy, like, people have against me, and like their daughter is like, I'm not gonna marry their daughter. Like, there's only one person I can marry, lady, only one. Like, I'm sorry. And like, the government informant is just like, I don't know who it is. And the spokesperson's greedy framer mother is like, is it you? And the government informant's like, I don't know who it is. Obviously, you're asking the government informant if they're the government informant or not. And the government informant's just like, I don't know who it is. And the spokesperson's greedy framer mother is just like, is it you? And the government informant's just like, I don't know who it is. And then she goes, well, if it's not you, then I'm not letting my fake false testimony go. And the government informant's just like, lady, you do whatever you want to do. Don't tell me about it. I really don't care. I've got a life of my own, sort of thing, you know? But it's kind of clear at that point that these people were extremely envious of me, and it was due to extreme greed, and obviously they also told the government informant about this. So after the second time my dad has begged the courts to let him back in, like, please, let me narrate, please. Like, February 10th, the courts basically tell him, like, those statements you've been saying against Hassan, we know they're lies. How we know, don't worry about it. We won't tell you, but they're lies. And like, obviously he's been making it all day, night long, calling the courts from morning till night. Like, you don't understand. This is very serious. The real story was, I have an extremely rare brain savant that law enforcement told everyone about, and it'd be seen out in the open for even 30 minutes to help save their life, even if they could win the case, even if they could disprove their guilt, anything of that sort, because they're addicted to sex and they're running sex games on these girls. They do not want their powers to be diminished or ruined by a 30-minute test, even if they could gamble over winning their entire trial in those 30 minutes. Because obviously, artificial intelligence is not lying. We're both making calculated moves over here. I'm not stupid enough to be gambling over this by going to a place like Moscow, Russia to do the challenge in front of the entire world. And they're not stupid enough to not do it when they can win the trial in 30 minutes just by doing it. Obviously, it's a calculated move on their part, too, because that 1-minute brain savant test that they did on November 14 had law enforcement tell them exactly what would happen at the end of 30 minutes, due to which they didn't do it. Calculated move on both our parts. No one's gambling here. We know what we're doing. Anyways, February 10th, the courts basically tell my dad, the greedy framer, they're just like, look, we know you're lying for the second time, and all you've done is from morning till night call us and lie. He's like, how do you know? And the court is just like, we can't tell you. We just know you're lying. Don't worry about how we know. So that entire night, February 11th, that psychopath, my dad, the greedy framer, has been sending me incest requests for me to sleep with his big, fat, ugly old sisters in return for giving him illegal assurances of money. And so at 12:22 a.m. on February 11th, 22 minutes past midnight, he sends me a text message that reads, "So nice to hear from you after so long." And then my baby name, Babuji, in there. And like, I'm just thinking in my mind, like, I read that text, I'm watching TV, I read it, and I'm like, all right, so that's what happened. And I just put the phone down. Like, you don't have to be a genius to guess these people. Like, seriously. Like the government's going to ask law enforcement, all right, who told them? Like, they would just be like, we didn't tell them. Like, no one had to be a genius to solve this case. Like, seriously. But yeah, it was like February 11th. I'm like 22 minutes past midnight. My phone vibrates. I pick it up. 12:22 a.m. It reads, "So nice to hear from you after so long, Babuji." And I read that text. It's from my dad, the greedy framer. I just look at it. I'm like, oh, so that's what happened. And I just put the phone down and I just go back to watching TV again. And that is what happened. Because at 3:17 a.m., he sends me a porn star named Sunny Leone's picture with his sister Farah's name on it. And then 3:56 a.m., that ugly old sister of his, spokesperson's greedy framer mother, he sends a picture of a woman resembling her at 3:56 a.m. The entire night, he's trying to get me to commit incest with his sisters. To get illegal assurances of money, and at 22 minutes past midnight, he texts me, "So nice to hear from you after so long, Babuji," which is supposed to be my baby name, I guess. And the only hearing we were having on February 10th was me arguing with the psychopath back and forth, where I'm telling the court, like, Your Honor, everything that this man is saying is a lie. He abused my mother when I was 5 years old child, and now he can't see her with all that money when he knows he doesn't deserve any of it himself. And at the end of this is the hearing we were having, and he texted me February 11th, 22 minutes past midnight. It reads on there, "So nice to hear from you after so long." Like, I remember it was like 22 minutes past midnight. My phone vibrates. I pick it up. I look at it. It says, "So nice to hear from you after so long." I'm like, all right, so that's what happened. And I just put the phone back down and I go back to watching TV. And that is what happened, because he sent me a picture of a porn star named Sunny Leone at 3:17 a.m. with his sister Farah's name on it. And yeah, we know that is open advertisement for incest due to what happens on March 7th. Let me continue this in a second.